Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Kuwait University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 15 of the subject of visual programming, in which we are going to discuss dialog boxes in Visual C#.net. And here in this lecture we will discuss the message and find dialogs of the Visual C#.net. Dear students, these dialogs are used for interaction with the GUI and it asks certain confirmation from the users. And the other dialogs such as the font dialogs, color dialogs, similarly save dialogs and file open dialogs and the print dialogs, these dialogs are used to perform different functionalities as indicated by their names. So in this lectures, we will discuss message and find dialogs and the other dialogs will be discussed in the next lectures. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of the dialog boxes, simple examples of the dialog box, programming examples of the dialog box, common dialog box and C# font dialog box. And then we will show the example of font change in the text box. And also at the end we will show some different references books where these topics are taken. Dialog box. Basically, dialog box is a certain window which enable our users to communicate our dialogues between a computer and also it enables a user to communicate with the GUI of the computer applications. Dialog boxes are mostly used to provide the user with some means for specifying that how the commands are implemented and how we can respond to certain commands using certain questions. So the font dialogs are other dialogs such as file open dialogs. These dialogs are the parts of Windows.form class which are act as a base class and all dialogs are instantiated from this package. So system.windows.forms is the top level class where the dialogs are inherited from this class. This is a simple example of the dialog box. Here you can see that there are two buttons, OK and cancel. And this is the message of the dialog. So do you really wish to quit? The user can respond to this dialogues with the OK or cancel button. This icon shows that this is the information icon. It can be, for example, a questions icons are an error icon as well. And this is the title of this dialog box. The title specifies the purpose of the dialogues, while this specifies this text specifies the message of the dialogue. So this is a simplest way of a dialogues which once displays different messages to the users. Now the user can acknowledge this dialogues by clicking either OK or cancel button. If OK, it means that then operation will be performed, and cancel means that the operation should not be performed there. This is the programming example of implementation of the confirmation dialogues. First of all, we will instantiate the object of dialog result class. This is the built-in class dialog result and this is our object. So res is the object here. Message.show is in fact a function here which is implemented in the message box class. .show is a function. First of all, it will take a string and the string is a certain message that will be appear on the body of the dialogues. For example, are you sure you want to delete the drive or the file? So here we will type the particular message. Next one is the confirmation. Confirmation means that this will be another string which defines the title of this dialogue. So this may be a string which will appear on the title of the dialogues. Then we have message box buttons dot OK and cancel property. Message box is buttons is a class, while OK cancel is a property of the message box buttons class. So this defined that there will be two buttons OK and cancels on our dialogues. And message box icons dot information icons means that here the information icon will be displayed. Now the object which we have instantiated here, that is REST object, we will in fact make query over this REST objects that whether the user has pressed the OK or click on the OK button, or the user has clicked on the cancel button. So if res is equal to dialogs result dot OK means that this control will check that if the OK button has been clicked, then the message box will appear that you have clicked on the OK and the task will be performed. And if the user's response with the cancel buttons, rest double equal to dialog result dot cancels, that means that cancel button has been clicked, then message box will be show you have clicked the cancels button. Now there are many dialog boxes. These dialogs are mostly used. For example, we have the dialog box such as the font dialogs, color dialogs, open dialogs, save dialogs, and similarly the print dialogs as well. So these dialogs are used for the common purpose such as that to change the fonts of the GUI or the font of the text boxes, or it performs such as changing the colors or opening the files in the text area, similarly saving the files that are typed into the text area. So these dialogs helps us for the multiple purpose. C# font dialogs. As its name indicates, font dialogs is a dialogs which changes or sets the fonts of different text. So this dialog represents a common dialogs box which displays a list of fonts, and all these list of fonts will be already installed into our computer. So the font dialogs allow the user to choose multiple fonts, for example logical fonts such as the font family that are associated for styles, then the font size, and then the effects, and also the scripts of the text. This is the font dialogs. You can see that this section defines the fonts, and this section defines the font styles, and this section defines the font size. And also if we want to apply the effects, here we will check these check boxes, and this will specify the samples, and if we click on OK, then the font will be applied. Otherwise, if we click on cancels, the font will not be applied. Now here is the examples of the dialogues. Example is this one, that for example if we have three different text boxes, and first text box takes an integer and second text box also takes the integer, the third text box will display the power of first text box over the second text box values. So if I will click the power buttons, then 3600 will be displayed here. That means that 6 power 2 is 3600, and results button will clear this all text boxes. Now if I want to change the font of these three text boxes, then I will click the change font button, and the dialogs will appear, and there I will select certain font, and the font will be applied on these three text boxes. And also the font information will be displayed on the message dialogs box. This is the code. First we have three buttons, so that's why we have the button 1 underscore click events here. So button 1 underscore click event will be created when we double click on the mouse. Now first we declare the v1 variables, which is the integer variable, and the input is taken from the text boxes, and the input is typecasted into integer because text boxes takes the string data types. Similarly, the second text box also takes the string data types, and this is typecasted into integer and the input is assigned to the second variable. And the third text box which will displays the strings as a output. So text box 3.text is equal to math.power. Power function is a built-in function of the maths class. So math.power v1 comma v2. So v1 power v2 will be calculated here, and it is typecasted into strings because text box 3 takes the strings. Private void button 2 underscore clicks object sender event argse. This button, which is the second button, will clear the first and second text box. So text box 1 dot clear and similarly text box 2 dot clear. Now this is the main code which we will implement the font dialogs. When the button 3 will be clicked, then the font dialogs object will appear. So first of all, font dialogs dlg is equal to new font dialogs. This lines declares the objects, and the object is when the object is called, the constructor is called in fact, and the constructor will display the font dialogs. So that's why we have declared the font dialogs object using the font class, font dialogs class. Now if dlg.showDialogs double equal to dialog result.ok, this means that when the dialogs is appeared and the OK buttons on this particular dialogs is clicked, then this body of the code will be executed. So here the if means that here text box 1.font is equal to dlg.font. So the first text box font will be equal to the font of the dialogs. And similarly, text box 2.font is equal to dlg.font, the second text box, and the third text box font will be equal to the font of the dialog when the OK button on that particular dialogs is clicked. Now again, we want to take information about these fonts. So string font name, float font size, string here we have declared the font name of the string data types and we declare the font size of the float data type. Now font name is equal to dlg.font.name. So the font name will be stored in this string variable which is of the font name variable. Similarly, font size equal to dlg.font.size, it will store the font size, and in the message box we will display the information about the fonts. So font name plus, which is the concatenation with the empty strings or empty space plus font size, and the font size will be here will be displayed in the message box. Now dear students, we will implement the font dialogs, but here we will perform a different example. You can do this example which is in the slide, but we need to perform a different example as well. So for this purpose, I will click on the escape buttons to escape the slides. Here first I need to launch the Visual Studio, so I will type VIS. So automatically Visual Studio will appear here. So I will click the Visual Studios to launch the Visual Studio here. So you can see that the flash screens of the Visual Studio has been appeared, and meanwhile the Visual Studio will be up for us to perform the programming. Now first we need to create a project. So for this purpose you can also use your previous projects, but better is to create the new projects. So click on create the new project. So in the meanwhile the new project window will appear where we will type the name of the project, and then we will click on the next buttons to create the GUI for our project. So already I have clicked here and the Visual Studio is now creating the project. So we need little bit patience here. So here I will type Windows because we are going to program the Windows programming. So I will type Windows. So here we will select Windows Form Applications and make sure that C# Windows Desktop options are available. So if your language is another language than the C sharp, so must you have to click on the C sharp and then type the Windows and select this option of the Windows apps form apps. Click next buttons. After clicking the next buttons, here you will ask for the name of the project. So for example, here I am providing the names of the projects, that is dialogs, dialogs examples, example. Okay, and click on the create button. So when I will click on the create button, after that the Visual Studio will create an empty form for me, which will be empty, and I will design my desired applications here. Then I will add the code with that particular application. So Visual Studio is creating the application of Windows Forms for me here. So this is the form which has been created by the Visual Studio. So here I will create a little bit different example. First I need the menu. So I will go to the menus and toolbar sections. Here I need this menu strips. The menu strips will create the menus here. So I just drag drop that menu strips onto my form. Here you can see that I will type the menus. So for example, this is the file menu. Here I will type, for example, exit. Exit means that if I will click this exit, the program will be closed. Here I will type the font. Font will be the upper menu, and here I can write font change. Font change. Font change. Now my GUI is now completed. If I click outside here, if I click outside, you can see that these two menus are created. Next, I will again go here and I will uh, drag drop a text box controls here on this form. And dear students, first of all, I will go to the property dialogs to change the text properties here. Here I will select the multi-line properties. Multi-line properties, I will make it true. That means that now it is a multi-line text box. But this text box is very small one. So that's why I will click on this arrow that is very much near to the text box, and I will go to the property dialogs, and then I will select the dock property of this text box here, and I will spread this text box on the form when I will click this dock property. So now you can see that this text box has been spreaded on this particular form. Now first I will associate different events with these two buttons. First one is the exit. So exit means that this program will be closed. So just double click on this exit menu. When you will double click this exit menu, automatically the event will be created, which is the exit tool strip menu items click event. So just I will type here close. Close. Close means that the program will be closed. Now again I will go into the design mode and now double clicks on the font. So font dialogs, I double click on the fonts. First of all, I need to declare the font dialogs object. So that is the font dialogs, font, font dialog object. For example, object name can be F is equal to new font dialogs. Here I have instantiated the object of the font dialog. Now I will check that if F but show dialog show dialogs is a function is double equal to dialog results but OK. OK means that when the OK button is will be clicked, then this part of the code should be executed. So in this part, I will write that we have only one text box. Text box one dot font is equal to f dot font. Means that the text box font will be equal to f dot font, while f is the object of our font dialogs class. Now the code has been completed here. Now to execute or to compile and run the program, I will click this start button, which is a green button. So just click here. If there is any sort of the errors, the Visual Studio will displays the error messages here. Just click on the particular error message and then um, maintain or correct the error message. Now the output has been appeared. If I will click on the exit button, you will see that Visual Studio output will be exit. So, and when I click on the font, then the font will be changed. For example, here I will write that I am a programmer of Visual C .NET. Now you can see that the font of this text is very much small. To, to change the font, I will use my font dialogs. Just click on the font dialogs and then you can see that the font dialogs has been appeared. So for example, I will select font from here. For example, you can see that the preview of your font that you are selecting, like this one, and then select the font size and click on OK. So when I click on OK, you can see that I am a programmer of Visual C#.NET. Automatically font has been changed. Again, if I want to change the font, so again I will click on this dialogs and I will select the required font, that is the font that is already provided there in the font dialogs. For example, MIT or these are some unreadable fonts, so I will select some readable fonts. So for example, and click OK. So you can see that font has been applied. I am a programmer of Visual C#.NET, and if I click on the exit buttons, this window will be closed. So this was the code here. Dear students, you can also perform uh, the practice on this code. This is also a very easy and understandable code. Dear student, this is the end of the font dialogs. If you have any question, you can ask through the email. My email is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk. So this email is for you to ask the questions. And also you can ask questions through the KUST KCMS. And if you have certain you want to read more about these topics, so these are two references. These are very good books, so you should download these books and you should study these books thoroughly. Thank you very much, and I will wait for your questions.